Hi, Tim. Thank you for joining us. I'm not going to give you too much of an introduction because I would love it, please, if you can introduce yourself and your business.
Okay, so my name's Tim Evans. Gartenart Swimming Ponds, we've been going for 21 years. I started with a German guy called Ralph, hence the name Gartenart. So he had a landscape company in Cologne. He moved over here, was trying to get swimming ponds going. This was around 2002, 2003. I joined him in 2003. We started up as a business, and he left after 5 years, and I've been running it myself since then. So kind of similar to what you were saying, Nick, in terms of size and kind of, I don't know about the growth story, but I mean, we've been a sort of gradual growth. We've got 20 people now. Um, Definitely in terms of where we're trying to position ourselves, we try and position ourselves at the sort of premium end of the market, although I don't know how other people have found this, but we found in the last 12 months, COVID years are really good, but the last 12 months has been a bit tricky, and the order books come right down. And we're thinking of maybe introducing a different price point, which is lower. Um, it's a question of whether we keep the same brand or not. That's
Yeah.
something I'm just sort of saying this openly now. But do we want to? What do we want to say? We're going to be offering a low-cost pond when we've got the Gartenart ponds, or
Yeah.
or do we keep them as a sort of separate message? So that's something that was probably coming. Well, it is coming. But in terms of what we build as swimming ponds, I mean, it's a fairly small industry. There's not loads of us. There's probably, I don't know, three, four, five main companies doing it in the UK. And we tend to specialize in the more naturalistic style. So there are some who build them with sort of straighter lines, or some are more pool-like. Some use a lot of timber. Ours are quite pond-like.
When you say natural swimming ponds, assume that
Yeah.
we know nothing. What do you mean
Okay,
by
so I'll
that?
say what a swimming pond is. So a swimming pond is basically, and when I say swimming pond, I also mean natural swimming pool. So for me, the two words are interchangeable. Not for everybody, but I would say that they're the same thing. And what that is a low nutrient wildlife pond. So everything is completely living. We're not killing anything in the water, although some people do. Some people use UV and other things, but our filtration system works by keeping the nutrient level very, very low. So what that means in particular is phosphorus. So we're targeting phosphorus and having that in a very low concentration. So when water is like that, it will be very clear, and you'll have very minimal blanket weed growth. That's what you're aiming for. In any swimming facility, you want the water to be healthy, and you want it to be clean, so you can see straight to the bottom.
Yeah.
And you don't want, in a natural pond, I mean, in my view, you can put up with some blanket weed around the side, or some growth and some fur on the walls, but not too much. And of course, everyone's different. Some people are much more tolerant of that, and some people want it squeaky clean. So not, our product isn't for everybody as well. That's another. And or you might want to have, different swimming pond companies or natural pool companies might build a different style that'd be more suitable for a certain type of customer. So ours is much more pond-like, much more organic, and we deliberately focus on that type of product and in that sort of type of customer, to be honest.
So do you find then, because as you say, I suppose it is slightly niche, do people, your customers, do they already know about natural ponds, swimming ponds, or do you have to do a bit of education first?
That's a good question. I mean, That's a good question. I think if they're coming to us, they've got to know something. So, if they're coming to us, they must have seen our website, they must have seen some marketing or whatever, or talked to us in some way, or read about it in some form. So if I think by the time they come to us, they know something. I mean, they might have had mixed messages, because inevitably we need ideally a more standardized industry. So inevitably different companies say different things, but generally speaking, they know something. And if I'm standing on, if we have a stand at Chelsea Flower Show every year, so we haven't built anything. They want to build something, but the guys want to build something. I'm not convinced anyway. So we have a stand at Chelsea Flower Show, and everyone kind of asks the same question. So what is a swimming pond? And the answer is kind of what I just said. I mean, a bit more than that.
Yeah.
How much does it cost? Always they say, isn't it too cold? Rather than can you heat it?
Is it too cold?
So, no. We always say there's my sort of standard answer to that is always try it for a season first and see what you think. So you can heat it. Temperature is definitely not the issue people think it is. Right now, on a day like today and this time of year, water temperature naturally is going to be about 22. It's quite nice. Natural water is quite nice at 22 degrees. Anything above 20 is quite nice. If you're acclimatized, 14, 15, 16 is totally fine. And being acclimatized is a strange thing. It happens actually quite quickly, which is why we say try it for a season first and see what you think. Anecdotally, when I have a swimming pond now, it took me a long time to get it, but I have one now. And when I went swimming in it in August, I was thinking, Jesus, I shouldn't have followed my own advice. I should have got heating. It was like, and it was middle of August. And then, you know, after few weeks, I was totally fine with it, and that happens. That there's a process in the body where you grow brown fat and all these things, but you get used to colder water and you really start to like it. And
wow, and it's a massive growing
it's a
trend
massive
as
thing.
well, isn't it?
Yeah, lots of health benefits.
Yeah, the cold plunges that you see nowadays. So do you find like your client is typically someone that is quite mindful about their sort of health and live that sort of more natural lifestyle and look after themselves? And
that's definitely the way we sort of market it and brand it, or I suppose some of it's implicit. But I suppose yes, but not definitely. I mean, you can, I suppose mainly yes. So our core market or our core customer will be, generally speaking, probably 40s, 50s, or 60s. Obviously, you've got to have some money and decent space. Generally, living in the countryside. I mean, a lot of our projects are in AONBs, so a lot of them have to go through planning permission. Not all.
Presumably, though, that's easier actually with a natural.
Yeah, with a natural pond,
pool,
definitely is in building a swimming pool. Yeah, much easier. Yeah, generally home counties, but not always. Goes to quite a lot in the Cotswolds, quite a lot in the southwest. Not so much in the north, I have to say. But we do operate all over the UK, even though we're mainly home counters. And in terms, and answer your question, so customers mainly have some sort of awareness and interest in organic products and lifestyle. So a swimming pond it's a lifestyle product. So it's something that looks beautiful. I think it's something that is it's not that ostentatious. It's not like it's not like a blue swimming pool.
I think that's beautiful.
It's something that's lovely to swim in. So we always do open days and try and get people in the water because you have to really be in it to really experience the difference between fresh water. I mean, if you go wild swimming, then you kind of know it. But even a swimming pond is different because it's sort of safe version of that. So there is, and so people are sort of in that direction of doing things organically and looking after their health, but they're sort of quite low key, quite soft around the edges, if that makes sense. Not sort of, I want this and that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about those open days? It looks like you've got them all around the country.
Yeah.
Not near here though, I don't think. I missed the one that was nearby.
Yeah, in Tunbridge Wells. That was a few weeks ago. So this one's near Tring in Hertfordshire. You're very welcome to come. Bring your swimming gear. So open days really are just a chance for people to come and try one out. And as I said, we definitely encourage people to swim. And on a day like today, it's obviously great. Although we have started this year doing ones in the winter as well, because it's, like you say, it's a growing interest in cold water swimming. So this year we did ones in February, April, early June. This is the second one in July. We're doing one in August. We're doing one in October. So I think I missed one, but anyway, like roughly that. So it's mainly at the pond that I have now in Tring and near Tring, and then we did one in near Tunbridge Wells, and we're doing one near Basingstoke. That's the one I missed. And they're just a chance for people to come and have a look and chat to us and
fully experience it.
And definitely get in, because people don't know what a swimming pond is. People just don't, culturally we don't have enough of them for people to really, we all know what we know what chlorinated water's like. We all know what salt water's like, but we don't know what a swimming pond's like. So that's why we do it really, and to give people the confidence that it's okay, because I think still, 20 years ago, we were trying to get awareness growing, and two things: awareness and confidence that it wasn't actually going to be something that worked. Because a lot of people just think it's going to be a slimy mess. So you need people to come and have a look and talk to you and see probably a few examples, or talk to people and have the confidence in you, I think, to realise it works.
And see it after it's been established for a while.
Yeah. So the one a couple of weeks ago in near Tunbridge Wells, we built that 12 years ago, so that's quite a good example of what they can be like.
How do you manage the out? Is it all the plants? So the plants will completely filter the pond and keep it clean with it?
Yeah, so how it works,
What's the maintenance of,
yeah,
on the upkeep of it?
so just to step back a bit and say what I said, continue what I was saying before. So it's a low nutrient wildlife pond.
Yeah.
So the biology of that is the same. So this is a bit my spiel that I sort of say every time. So it's kind of like a mountain lake, same water as a mountain lake. So when you go to a mountain lake, the water is clear, not because it's cooler, but because it's low in nutrients, because there's very naturally very little going into it. So that's what we're recreating, and you need to circulate the water inside the system. So it's a closed system, and nothing comes in from outside. So there's a French drain around the outside to prevent any runoff. There's a skimmer to collect any leaves. Be very careful of topping it up with tap water. Very careful of ducks because they can make a mess. So those are the main things that might introduce nutrients. And that is it. The plants do a job as they grow. They take nutrients out of the water, but they're not the main thing. It's the main thing is the circulation through a type of aggregate that we have that takes phosphorus in particular out of the water. And different companies use different methods. They're all end up with the same result, but they might say, yeah, we use this, special material, and that, takes phosphorus out this way. But pretty much every main company that builds swimming ponds targets phosphorus, and they end up with low nutrient water. And usually, some companies use UV, but most don't.
So then, when it comes to the planting around the edge, is that something that you also supply as part of the package?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we would do everything from the edge of the French drain in. So when we quote, we'll quote for that. And say, any turfing or seeding can be done by us, but generally it's done by a local gardener or landscaper or them.
And are there quite specific plants that you do use?
Yeah, because it's more, so the choice of plants is more about the plants that do okay in low nutrient water. So some of those plants might do too well in normal ponds. So like in a village wildlife pond, you might see a bit overgrown. Your flag iris will be a couple of meters tall. Our flag iris are only 1 meter tall. So it's plants that do well in that environment.
Yeah.
And we've got, I don't know, about a dozen or 15 that we commonly use.
Yeah. And then I guess because everything is about the state of the water and how much nutrients or what it's made up from, are you quite specific about the materials that you use to build the ponds?
Yeah, so you've got to be, anything in water, you've got to make sure that the stone is impermeable, it doesn't crack when it's cold, and the timbers, we use Douglas fir generally, same as any landscaping rules. I'm not a landscaper, but you guys know better than me. But the timber that's underwater is fine, and timber that's on the dry is fine. It's the timber that sort of sometimes wet, sometimes dry, that you then after 10 years or so might need replacing, or some of it might. We tend to use natural stone for our step entrance. Tend to use Douglas fir or oak for the timber. We tend to use Caledonian stone for the jumping rocks and stepping stones. We do use black EPGM liner for the liner. We use a certain type of limestone aggregate for that shingle that I talked about that used to filter the water through. And then there's a whole filtration network beneath that.
So then if somebody already has either a pond or a swimming pool, can you use those that already exists?
You can. We haven't quite cracked the swimming pool conversion yet, because it should be easy to convert a swimming pool and just sort of take out the current gubbins in the plant room and then install our gubbins. We haven't cracked that one yet, but when we do that, that will be a very simple and effective way of producing a natural normal swimming pool.
Yeah.
At the moment, we have to sort of use our own filtration system. So generally, it's easier to convert to ponds, to be honest. It's perfectly possible to convert to swimming pool, but it just costs a bit too much at the moment.
Right.
So we either build from scratch, or we convert an existing pond.
Yeah. And you mentioned that obviously lots of customers come to you and they find you, and obviously then they're almost pre-qualified, they know about the product. Have you ever partnered with, say, landscapers or designers? Does that work as a different way to get customers?
That's a good question. We should. I'm definitely open for that, but we haven't really. We've definitely had people say to their customers, whether they're designers or landscapers, or the customers have said to them. Anyway, the discussion has gone. We want a swimming pond, or how about a swimming pond, and they've come to us. But we haven't had a sort of fixed sort of agreement partnership, which we should do. There's no reason not to do that. So yeah, I mean, for sure we should develop it.
Just for people watching, Tim, what sort of price range are the swimming ponds? And obviously, they vary by size, but could you give us a range of what they typically cost?
So generally, the smallest natural one we would do would be 12 meters by 8. So 12 meters length, 8 meters width, and you generally have a 2 meter wide planting stroke filtration area. So therefore, if it was 12 long, you'd have 8 meters swimming length, and if it was 8 wide, you'd have 4 meters swimming width. So that would cost, if we were to build that in our Gartenart way, then that would cost about 140,000, and then generally, if you double the size, you add 40 to 50% of the cost. So something, our sort of normal price point is maybe 180, 200, something like that. But like I said, in the last 12 months, we've found our order book massively reduced. So we're now introducing this low-cost pond where it's much simpler to build. We've got a uniform depth, so we just dig out a uniform bowl, basically, build it, put the liner over that. I mean, obviously there's things that go under the liner. Put a timber frame on top of that. You've got to weight it down, and then you have the aggregate filtration system going around it, and we can build the whole thing in about 5 weeks rather than the 10 weeks that it would normally take us to do.
10 weeks, that's from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a small one, we could do it in 8. Between 8 and 13. We always try and cap it at 13. There's more people on the site if it's really big. So that low cost pond will be around about 80,000. So as I was saying to others before, we've got to be, at the moment, we're not sure whether to have those two products sharing the same brand or whether to have them separately branded, because we've got to be confident, because companies do that. They have a premium brand and a low cost brand, but we've got to be confident about the difference and how we communicate that. So we've got 2 websites at the moment, and one's not, one's under a different name called Eco Swimming Ponds.
Oh, nice. Do you find then that there are certain challenges, almost like red flags that potential customers might say that just pings off in your brain and think, oh, this is going to be one of those projects?
In retrospect, it's very easy to say. I mean, at the time, the trouble is, whenever you're selling a project, you always kind of, oh yeah, I might sell a project. So, because you don't sell very many, obviously.
Always optimistic.
Yeah.
When they start talking about how much they love chlorine, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, you can usually. Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, it's easy. You can always say, yeah, and you always knew they were going to be really fussy. I mean, it's probably the same with anyone, But at the time, you don't quite see it, or at least that's not my experience. And also, to be honest, we're quite honest at open days. We obviously we clean the ponds for open days, but we don't do it to an inch of their life. It's if with the type of customers that are going to go ahead with us, need to be okay with a little bit of natural growth, and if they want something squeaky clean, then they should go for a different product.
Brilliant.
Perfect. I definitely need to look up the dates for your open days. They sound absolutely magical. So obviously you've spoken about the sort of sister business, but what is on the roadmap for the next couple of years for Gartenart?
Well, that I'd say is the main thing. So that, and also we need to build at least one pub. We want to get started building a public one, because there's every now and again you get interest from councils or hotels. We've done a few commercial ones, but they're generally the same size as our domestic ones. So we want to start building and get really culturally people more involved in understanding what natural water is like to be in, rather than we don't really have we have a bit of a Lido culture. It's gone a bit but not really in this country. It's much more, and if you go to places like Germany, there's a lot of public natural pools where 5,000 people go a day. In this country, that doesn't really exist. I know we don't have the same weather, but that's something I'd really like to get going. Keep the Gartenart brand going as it is, and then build the low-cost brand up to, I don't really know where it can get to. So
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Tim. That was excellent.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.